So let's take a look at the 70 kilo weight class and let's break it down and fill out this draw. So here we are. This division's a little bit tougher for me to just kind of like throw somebody into the final or throw somebody into the semi, just because a lot of these girls beat each other. And the person who I wanted to pick going into the Olympic Games that I thought was going to be a shoo-in for the final was the French player Gahi, who is not in the draw. The French actually threw their number 2 in here, who is seated right here at number 2 in Pool C, Pinot. So it's a little interesting because we've also lost the Japanese girls. So the number 1 and number 2 players in the world at this weight class are not in the draw for the Olympic Games. I'm wondering if they're using them in the team event because the countries are putting a lot of stake and pride into that judo team event. That's going to be at the Olympic Games, but at the end of the actual tournament, that they wanted to save them to ensure that they came home with a team gold medal. But let's go ahead and take a look at this bracket. Let's jump on in here, right here at the top. Yeah, so I think, just looking at this, if we had to pick some people, I'm going to go Uzbekistan, Sweden, and Italy. Okay. And then let's keep coming down. Portugal. Let's pull this over here a little bit more so you guys can see. Looking at this, yeah, I'm just gonna use the seed again. I mean, when you have a seed at the Olympics, it's to help you get to the quarters because of all your hard work throughout the quad when you were trying to qualify. So, the odds are in their favor to make it all the way through. Let's keep scrolling through here and fill this out. GRE for Greece, BRA. I'm actually not sure what EOR is. There are some countries that get wild cards into this, and that may be what that is. I just know Russia is competing under a very specific one for them. So let's see here it is. Here's the Russia, ROC for Russia, which I'm going to give this to. So I'm just going to call them Russia. This is actually going to be a really tough first round fight for either one of them. And this is probably one of the more competitive pools when you look at it as a whole, right, of just who's in it. Just because Arai, Perez, and Hal, these are all people that have, proven themselves and won Grand Slam, Grand Prix medals throughout the quad. But again, looking at this, I guess I just got to go with, my Pan American player there from Peru. Or Puerto Rico, sorry. And then here, again, another, this is just such a tough one to pick because both players are extremely talented. Again, they're not seeded, but they're on the cusp of being seeded, and they may or may not have wins over each other, but they're definitely competitive. So I'm gonna throw it out there, and I'm gonna go, the seeded player is going to lose first round. And I think this is the first time I've done that, where I've knocked out a seeded player early. And then here, we're going to go AUS, okay? Hopefully that doesn't come back to make me look like an idiot. But anyways, let's come back up here to the top. Let's take a look at this here, and let's pull out the highlighter, and let's highlight some of these people advancing on to the next round. So keeping it simple, we're going to go seeds. I do feel like Sweden's going to beat Italy here, but like I said at the very beginning, in this division, a lot of these girls can beat each other. So the draw was very important. I don't know the stats to these girls as well as I should. So I don't know how often these two have fought to say one's going to win over the other. But if I had to pick, I'm going to go the seeded player. Let's keep it going. Yeah, I just gotta do the seed. Here, gotta do the seed. Seed and the French player. Portela versus the Russian. I mean, part of me just wants to go seeded, but I feel like Brazil's COVID has been a little tougher than most. So I'm going to go Russia. Arai wins this match, and then Venezuela comes through. So let's lock all these in here. Let's go ahead and go VEN, JPN. Let's pull this down. Russia's going to come through. France is going to come through. Austria's coming through. Croatia, Sweden, and NED. All right. Okay, so now the question becomes, who goes to the semi? I just think the girls that would have beaten this player are not here, so we're going to advance her into that position, no problem. NED. And now we have Croatia versus Austria, which it could go either way. The question just becomes, this 5 beat 4 at this point, and for me, just looking at where the players are and their first round matches, they both had tough. Well, she actually has an extra match in Austria, so. But the Korea match, you know what? I'm just gonna shut up, and I'm just gonna go Croatia. I think Austria has the extra match in there. I think both matches for her are gonna be somewhat tough. Is she gonna be able to keep it going versus this player that just, they got a little bit more rest, 1 match versus 2. I'm just gonna give it to her and say, yep. She's able to pull that out. Let's come down here. Perfect. France versus Russia. Again, we're missing the standout players, so it's really hard to say where we go. I do think Japan does that no problem. The question just becomes France or Russia as we're looking at this. And I think you just got to go with France with the seed and just say, hey, Russia, you had a nice run, but not today. And it just is what it is. So now when we come down here and we look at this, we have our semifinals. We have the Netherlands versus Croatia and France versus Japan. And how do we want to do this? How do we want to, see what happens? Just checking the seeds. So we have the number 1 seed versus the number 4, and we have the number 2 seed versus the number 3. So I feel like these two girls know each other so well, but at the end of the day, what's going to happen, and I think if I just had to make a quick, just like gut instinct, I want to put Japan in the final, but I also don't. So give me a second just to think this through. I don't want to be wrong or too far off. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it simple. And then I'm gonna go hometown favorite. Yeah, let's do that. And then let's make that committed. Let's fill that in. NED. And Japan. So now the question just becomes, who's gonna win this final? I think you gotta just do it. Japan's gonna win a gold medal here. I think they played their cards right. saving that player to the end, just knowing that Gahi would have been my pick to come all the way through this bracket anyways. Let's blow this up. Whoop. Let's move this over. So let's fill this in, JPN, NED. And now let's pull out some of these people. So France is gonna cross over. Then who crossed over on the other side? Croatia. And now we have and then we have Russia, Austria, and Sweden. Wow, that was terrible. There we go. Okay. So now we have Sweden, Austria, Russia, and Venezuela. It's a toss-up. I mean, these girls just go back and forth so much. It's hard to like really make like an educated decision without having the stats right in front of you, or seeing how they competed throughout the day to see who really has a shot at beating who. But at the end of the day, this is a prediction thing, so we got to make some tough choices. I'm gonna go Sweden and Venezuela. I think Venezuela may be the first person I put all the way into the final who's not seeded and actually fights a seeded person in the first round. So just a little tidbit there that like, it's not always about the seed, but it is very, very important. And if I had to fill this out again, let's go France, Croatia versus Venezuela. Would the Croatian go through again? Portugal, Austria lost. Portugal, Austria lost. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna say Venezuela's gonna get it. As crazy as that sounds, I'm doing it. She's gonna earn it the whole way through, and then France is gonna finish it off. So let's fill in this sheet right here. Boom. Let's go France versus Venezuela. Perfect. So there's gonna be my 70 kilo prediction sheet with Japan winning, Netherlands, France, then Venezuela.